Hi. So today I'm going to do a reading for a female client. Actually, we've got a couple of questions we'll try and get through. And I'm going to be using a couple of different tools today to try and get a bit of clarity on this subject. It's going to be interesting, actually. So we've got our first question is about my client and her interest in reawakening in magic and her spell work and her magical workings, right? And so we're just going to have a look, and we're going to see how is her spiritual workings, how is her magical workings and her spell work progressing. Okay. Thank you. I've already done all my preparations. I was trying to cut down on time. Okay. So here we go. This is my client. There we go. This is the subject. This is the spell work. This is the foundation. So this is what is based on. What the foundation is between these two. This is what's coming up. This is the outcome. This is really interesting. I don't even know if I have to do another round, but we'll see. So we will have to get to the fourth question, and you'll understand what I mean, because that's come up again. So here we are. So this is my client. This is her magical workings. This is what's the foundation coming up and the outcome. So toxic, bad habits, not thinking very straight about it, probably all mixed up and negative, and probably really not very clear intentions, I imagine, and probably not a lot of self-belief either. Magical workings. So this mystic woman, for this to come up in magical workings, just insane. So this is spiritual knowledge. So this is, look for the knowledge within you. So your magical workings are within you. This is super spooky, super perfect. This is a crazy card to have with the subject that we're talking about and the question that you've asked. It's unbelievable. So this mystic woman, she means, and this represents your magical work and your spell work. This means that yes, you have juice, you've got mojo, it's in you. You have to listen to your intuition. You have the answers, and they are your spiritual and psychic powers, and they are within you. Already, and that's the foundation of it. Solitary. So you've been doing quite a lot of this on your own. This is the way. The owl is very solitary. Now it's based on. It can be. Sorry, I should say, a teacher, student, mentoree card as well. But one of the things it really is very lonely. You know, it's something that's done on its own. And I imagine that you've been perhaps seeking this knowledge or trying to figure this stuff out on your own. Or certainly without perhaps, if we're talking in witchy terms, you've been without a coven. If you're, or maybe you're just not within a group, you're just reading online or doing things like that, which is perfectly cool. But that's what you've been doing. You've been doing this on your own. Now, coming up, you have what I would call a natural progression change now. So this wheel, this is like the seasons. They're just turning forward. The wheel turns a full circle. It just goes round. There is something coming up for you. I mean, I suppose it's silly there's always something coming up for someone, but this is a progression. You know, the wheel is just turning. And one of the things the wheel turns are seasons. And so your next season is coming up. And it's coming up in the coming up stage. So, that we'll have another look at that in a minute, but I'm just trying to do a first pass. And the last card here is the clover, which this is so clear for me. So the clover means everything is beautiful, it's lucky, it's a gift, it's fortuitous, it's lucky, it's rare, it's all of those things. But they are only found under the right conditions. Do you know what I mean? They have to have a balance of all 4 seasons. There's got to be a lot of things in play, not only to produce a 4-leaf clover, but to find it. So there are lots of things that have to line up. But when everything's in balance, so coming up, the way I'd look at it is there is a lot of balance. Things will start to even out, and there will be a balance. It's awesome. This, we're not sure if we should do a separate reading for this, but we'll just try and do another pass and see what comes out with that. Maybe we'll answer that 4th question. You know what I mean about that. Maybe we'll answer that within this. Okay. Oops. Oh, wow, you've got spiritual cards coming out of this. Ooh, that's fun. Okay, so we'll just start with this round 2. So now we layer this down. Your bad habits, I think, are just not a lack of focus, really. So this butterfly is cool. I mean, butterflies are beautiful and they're pretty, and they flit around and they're really social, but they don't last very long. They don't live very long. And when I mean superficial, I don't mean shallow. I just mean that they're on the surface. I suppose shallow actually is the perfect thing, is what I mean. It's just shallow. It's not. There's no judge. I'm not judging it, or anything. But it doesn't go deep. And I think if you just go on that you keep moving around from flower to flower to flower to flower, you don't rest. And I think perhaps what this is saying is that that's not working for you, right? Toxic is being shallow and moving around from thing to thing to thing to thing. Here is your magical workings, which are inside you. You have natural psychic and spiritual knowledge and ability. This one here, this lily, is about rebirth, and it's a bit more than rebirth. It's kind of like cleansing, like born again. Like you'd be a born again, whatever, I don't know, born again virgin, born again Christian, born again Wiccan, born again, whatever. But something is renewing itself. It's a real go down to the river and wash yourself clean type of card. It's gorgeous. And for it to come like this, I think this is revelatory. That's what I'd use to describe this. This is going to be a really new, powerful re-emerging of this power that you have inside you. Power sometimes is not the right word, but you have this knowledge, you have this sacred and divine knowledge and ability in you, and that's being reborn. It's being cleansed and reborn, which I think is so important if you think of what you need, because this toxic card, this isn't very good. And perhaps what it's also saying is that to look within you, and I explain that. So with this owl, this solitariness, what's really interesting is, so you've got, this is the dichotomy, and maybe this is where there's some confusion. So you've got this solitary mentoree. So either you're the teacher, you're the student, and only you'll really understand about that, but it's quite solo. And then you've got this cherry, which is really juicy and sexy, and see, with the two things, it's all about choice. So to come as the obstacle, I think maybe again, this is something's fizzing away. We've got some magic. Okay. Something in here is not there's what's not combative, conflicting. These things are conflicting, and so I look at this and I see this kind of conflict, if you know what I mean, or certainly two different sides. I'd see this sort of conflict, and no wonder you've been flitting around and round and round in circles, and going from flower to flower, because you've got sort of all these choices and options and seductions on one hand, and then you've got this sort of quite deep solitary wisdom on the other, and that's what's boinging you around. That's and that's the foundation between you and the magic. So the sort of perhaps the quite more solemn learning, and then the sort of the really juicy, sexy, fun part. And that's not been reconciled very well. Coming up. So we've got this seasonal change, which is out of your hands. So one of the things this hand of fate is that it's similar in regards to it's a really important spiritual, magical kind of card, but that it's the opposite to this in the sense that this is where you have all the power. You know the heart of the matter. It's in your heart, right? That there is a little beating heart. And this it's completely out of your hands. This is in the hands of fate. This is in a much higher power. So I'm looking at this, you've got the magic within you, but this journey you're on is about to start taking a course. It's going to go off on its own. Do you know what I mean? It's going to it's really going to become out of your hands. It feels a bit like destiny. That's a kind of destiny sort of card. And the last one up here, so the outcome, so you've got this perfect balance, but you've got to take a chance too, so there'll be something to take a gamble on at the end. And when I say the end of it isn't the end of forever, but, I sort of in my head, I was thinking, 6 months, what's coming up soon, and 6 months-ish is soon for me. And sort of at the end of that, you will have quite a lot of things in balance, and then there'll be a risk. Then there will be a risky option for you. Which is really interesting. Just let me do one more on that one. Yeah, so be careful of this risky option. Yeah, so that's still got some tangled up. Don't get messed up. Okay, you've got to keep this all well balanced. You must be well balanced, right? That's what this is telling me hugely. You've got to stay balanced and rooted or whatever, rooted, but I mean, you know what I mean? Because there is a chance that it could get really messy, at the end of it. Wow, that's quite hard. I just can't believe you've got these magical cards here. That's pretty crazy. We'll leave those out for a little while. Right, question 2. Right, here we go. Are you ready to start working with a spirit? Ooh la la. Just sort of giving it a bit of juice. Okay, here we go. Am I sitting down? Okay. Do I have a dog called Spot? Okay, I'm pretty comfortable that I've got my yes and no's. Is she ready to work with spirits? Yep, that's a pretty confident yes. I don't know if you can. I'm not sure how well this comes across on camera, but it's a pretty confident yes. You know, I've got a pretty good circle there. I'm very happy with that. So we had to use the pendulum because that's what we do for yes and no answers, which I felt that second one was a pretty much, there was no way to answer that within the cards. Yes, you are ready. But it's funny because when I see this, I think, yeah, this is the next part, which you would have written in your email. To me, it seems obvious. I think it seems that, so yes, I got a yes. B, I think you couldn't avoid it if you tried, because I think this is where the wheel is turning for you to move to that next stage. I think this is the hand that it's going to be taken out of your hands, like this is going to become in the hands of someone much greater, or something much greater. And for the last question, right, but look, you've got to get, it's going to take, A, it takes some time to get right, trust me, from doing this myself. And B, it takes quite a lot to get the right balance. And it can be a little bit scary and a little bit messy and things get tangled up. And it is a bit risky, but I think it's worth it. That's a gift, right? So that's the end of it. The last one I'm going to do for you, because we've run out of time. So we will leave this question, you know what I mean by the toxic card, we'll leave that for another day. But I have these beautiful goddess guidance cards. Now, you asked about should you work with a spirit, and I'm not sure I'm actually the right person to answer that, because I really feel, and this was my experience, that this was something that you are drawn to. But I have these wonderful goddess guidance cards, and I am hugely slanted towards them because these are what work for me. I pulled one for, I pull one for every reading that I do as an approach. But I thought I'd pull one today for you and see if there is some way for you, if that's somewhere for you to start. I can't really be the one to move you in that direction, but my advice to you is very simply just start with something like this, right? And something like this, like a deck like this or something, and just start going through them. And the ones that you're drawn to are the ones you need to work with. And that's how you start to meet everybody. Does that sound right? Do you know what I mean? You start to meet everybody. One of the strongest ones I thought for you, weirdly enough, was a Kali. Kate sprung to my mind. And she's a Hindu goddess, endings and beginnings. Bit vicious, a bit dark and light. But I mean, I want you go and look her up. But this is for you. So this card, we're just going to draw this top one here for you. Okay, and someone perhaps somewhere to start looking. Oh, Maeve. Okay, so Maeve's lovely. So Maeve, I'll just read about Maeve. Cycles and rhythms. So Maeve is really about getting in touch with your very feminine, so very yin, like all your the cycles of your body and your moods and your emotions. So it says, what is it? Honor, glasses on, Lena. Honor the cycles of your body, energy levels, and emotions. So maybe this is where it's you. This is you being your own teacher. Like the first place you start. It's funny. I'm doing this thing at the moment where I have to start a moon journal. I'm doing this journal, and it's quite weird starting from the beginning. But it's one of those things where actually, when you write it down, you realize how much is important. So the first thing I thought was start with Maeve. The first thing I thought of was start with Kali. I think you should look her up, Kali. Start with Google, best place to look for a start. And secondly, maybe try and get some sort of deck like this sort of thing. I like these Doreen Virtue ones. There are a million of them out there, where you can just start meeting different deities, and seeing which ones you're drawn to. And you'll be drawn to them for a variety of reasons. Some of them will be because it's what you need. Some of them it's because what you recognize in yourself. and some of them will be, and when you start working with them, some of them you will feel empowered. Some of them will just, it is like striking a match or falling in love. It's that thing where you just go, oh, I felt that right down to my toes. Not necessarily, oh, I recognize that, or that's lovely, or I need some of that today. That's all fine, and you can work with different entities and deities or whatever, God's spirits, whoever. But when you meet one that you fall in love with, that's the best correlation I can give you. And the way to do that is just to learn. Go back to this one, I suppose. Keep learning. Anyway, I hope this answers some questions for you. If you want to go to that last question that we talked about, just you know how to get a hold of me. Okay, thanks. Bye.